Anyway, welcome everybody to WACV 2018 in Lake Tahoe. The schedule people, of course, already have in the printed pocket guide, but the conference is also on the Conference Publishing Service app. If you download it through whatever your favorite app store is, you have to have a password, which is WACV18, and that'll have the schedule and the talks and everything else in there. So breakfast tomorrow and through Thursday is from 7:30 to 8 in the Sand Harbor Room at Harrah's, which is across the street. The main conference, Monday to Wednesday, the keynotes start at 2:30, a little bit later today because I'm starting late. And then orals from 3:30 to 7:30, and then posters and dinner starting at 7:30, again across the street at Harrah's. We have tutorials the next 2 days from 8:30 until noon. Tomorrow's is optimization methods for deep learning, and Wednesday is when blockchain meets computer vision. We have a couple of workshops on Thursday, cross-domain biometric recognition and computer vision for active and assistive living. Please do join in those. It's all included in everybody's registration. And as well, there was a PhD forum that's happened earlier today over the lunch hour, and we had 24 students that were invited to meet with mentors and receive travel grants for their attendance and participation. So the logistics, you're all already here in the Emerald Bay Ballroom, so I don't want to explain how to get here. But getting to the poster sessions, I think probably the best method is going to be to follow the large pack of people that all leave at the end of the oral sessions. But it is across the street at the second floor of the Harrah's Convention Center. So there is a tunnel between these two buildings that goes under the street, and then a couple of escalators. But it being a casino, they want you to have plenty of opportunities to lose some money along the way. So it's a bit windy, and again, please just try to follow the pack. Again, we have keynote speakers starting each afternoon of the main conference. Today, Tal Arbel from McGill is going to tell us about something that I'm told we should not describe as an application of computer vision, which is medical image analysis. On Tuesday, Kapatabala from Cornell University in Grokstyle is going to talk about material recognition, editing, and stylization. And then on Wednesday, Christopher Bennin from IARPA is going to talk about prize challenges in computer vision, including one that's just getting started, that's associated with the CVPR workshop. So just a quick note on this. Some people who may have registered already for CVPR may have noted that there's a code of conduct for CVPR this year. WACV attendees are encouraged to read it, and we sort of expect people to be well behaved. So abide by the spirit of it, even if you're not fully aware of the wording of it. You can follow. You can find this on the CVPR website. Don't try to click the screen here. Just a note: IEEE has a very similar code of conduct for its members, and the main message here is be considerate of your fellow researchers and be mindful of how others might interpret things differently based on their background and who they are. So just a quick review of the review process. We had 241 reviewers and 41 area chairs that were using the CMT system and the Toronto paper matching system. Area chairs were, of course, excluded from handling papers from their research groups, their affiliated institutions, and collaborators. And anybody with privileged access to CMT, so that's the program chairs and so on, did not submit papers to the conference to further avoid conflicts of interest. This wasn't the case last year, but we went back this year to the 2-round review process for WACV. So in the first round, a paper could be accepted outright, or it could be invited for resubmission to the second round. And the key there is that the resubmissions get the same reviewers, so that you, as a person submitting it to the second round, we're not going to be unpleasantly surprised with a new set of demands from a different set of reviewers. New papers could be submitted to the second round directly as well, without having to have been invited from the first round. And author rebuttals were possible in the second round. In the first round, there was no need because, of course, you could resubmit. And again, WACV 2019 is going to use the same two-round process. Again, when you submit something to either round, there was a track submission track selection between applications and algorithms papers. That's to reinforce WACV's tradition of being receptive to applications papers, and also, of course, to be welcoming to papers that may not have a particularly well-defined or well-evaluated application, but present a novel algorithm as well. So there were separate reviewing criteria for the reviewers and for the area chairs. What you can see here in the statistics slide is basically that the difference between the two tracks, the algorithms and applications, didn't make a big difference, frankly. The overall acceptance rate of 40% was pretty similar between the two tracks. There were relatively a larger number of submissions to the applications track in the second round for whatever reason. There's sort of a lot of stuff going on in this, and I'm a little bit short on time, but in the first round, the number of submissions was roughly equal between the two tracks. The acceptance rate was pretty similar in the mid-30s, and another approximately third of the papers submitted to round one were invited to resubmit to round two. Now, fewer than all of those papers were actually resubmitted to round two, differed a little bit by the track, and of those papers, something like 20 or so were accepted. The comment here, this is sort of depends on how you count, right? 21 acceptances is 53% of the 40 papers that were invited to resubmit, or alternatively, it's 70% of the 30 people who actually resubmitted. So there's some sort of selection bias where people may not choose to resubmit to the second round if they don't feel like they can satisfy the reviewers based on their comments in the first round. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on these acceptance rates too much, but the result is sort of in line with the growth of the computer vision community. That this WACV is the largest, both in terms of submission, in terms of papers, and number of attendees. So we've got 552 submissions, which is considerably more than the previous high, which translates to also a largest number of attendees, but it's not the same sort of multiplicative factor there. Some of that may have to do with the ECCV deadline this weekend. So anyway, again, we can take these and post them online for people to use as they will. But again, sort of the recommendation based on the feedback we've had and the acceptance rates is, that people should submit to round one and try to resubmit if they're invited. Again, take those for what they're worth. You mentioned on the website that there's going to be a forthcoming special issue of the Machine Vision Applications Journal. The area chairs nominated papers from each round, and additional papers were taken based on looking at the average review scores. So there's a pool currently of potential invitees that will be selected, that will be narrowed down to 12 to 16 papers. Authors of those papers should expect to receive an invitation shortly after the conference, and will be encouraged to submit by July 1st in order to have decisions by October 1st, and the special issue published in early 2019. In addition to that, there's a People's Choice Award, which has happened at previous WACVs as well, which we'll award during each night's poster session. It's based on popular vote. Each registered attendee is given 3 votes. You might want to vote once for your paper, but then you can vote twice for some other papers that you like a lot. You'll get some details on this by email from Terry, but basically it's going to be a web-based voting system, and you'll need the registration number that you got printed with your badge in order to be able to submit your votes. And then sort of wrapping things up here, the website certainly has all this information, but the general chairs, at least 2 of us are here, and many of the program chairs as well. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and it's been a great team to work with, and things are coming together quite nicely. So thanks to everybody who organized, and of course as well the reviewers and the area chairs who spent a lot of time helping WACV get together a nice program. Of course, we have to also thank our sponsors. The overall meeting is sponsored almost 50-50 by the IEEE Computer Society and the Biometrics Council. And then as well, we have a number of corporate sponsors, in silver and bronze tiers who contributed money. You won't see their names on lanyards or shirts or anything, but it went into the general conference fund that we used, of course, to feed people, and also a large chunk of that to support the PhD forum, particularly for students from non-U.S. educational institutions. And lastly, I'll just put an advertisement for WACV 2019. The deadlines are a little bit earlier this year because the conference itself is also earlier next year, January 7th through the 11th on the Big Island of Hawaii. As I mentioned, they're going to use the multi-round review process, and the first deadline for that is on June 29th. So the website is already up. It's got, of course, all the other details, and it'll look, again, blue water nearby, but a different kind of blue water, a little bit saltier next year. So thanks, everybody, and enjoy the conference. And there you go. And Tal Hasner is going to introduce our first invited speaker.